so ambulance respond for an EMS call for a gunshot wound.
Getting there as fast as we can.
Multiple gunshot victims inside. Could you go ahead and contact the coroner? 10-4.
It was supposed to be just a casual first date, a beer, maybe a pizza at home before calling it a night. But by morning, one person would be dead, another clinging to life, and a dog, loyal and terrified, would be the only soul left keeping a man from slipping away for good. On the evening before Thanksgiving in 2021, in small-town Farmersville, Illinois, Christopher Smith, a 48-year-old pool contractor and fitness buff, goes on a date with Leslie Reeves, a 45-year-old fitness studio owner. The two had met online. What happens inside Chris's house later that night exposes a violent obsession, a haunting warning, and a killer's attempt to get away with murder.
The penalty is death.
Get your family out of here.
Why me?
I will have my attorney call you.
So unbelievable.
It's the fall of 2021, and Chris Smith is pretty content with his life.
I was a single dad. I was a small business owner. I had a general contracted maintenance company, and I had my daughter 50% of the time, split custody in a nice 100-year-old farmhouse on about 2 acres of land in Farmersville, Illinois. Had everything I could ask for. Had a pool in the backyard, had a 1,500 square foot garden. I grew giant pumpkins. I grew banana trees.
He also sings in a band. But that night, everything changes.
The last thing I remember is driving home from work on 11/24 of 2021, passing my neighbor's house, looking at my dashboard of my truck, and it said 4:45 p.m. and the voice in my head screaming, "Don't go out, stay home, don't go out, stay home."
Chris has a date with a beautiful woman he met online, Leslie Reeves. She's a divorced mother of 2, has her master's in engineering, but had decided to leave her job as a petroleum engineer to help her local community.
Leslie was just always bubbly and happy, and if she ever didn't have a smile on her face, it wasn't for very long.
When she walked in the room, you knew she was there. She did not hide or shrink away from anybody. She was, like I said, super friendly. She loved people, and really when it came to business, her passion was helping women.
Hey everybody, it's Leslie from All You Studio, your personal safety and awareness specialist here in Troy.
Leslie opened up a fitness studio. All You Studio did more than help women get into shape.
Really, it was this place where women could go and get self-defense training.
To escape abusive relationships, something Leslie's friends believe Leslie may have experienced herself.
She had learned to defend herself, and she felt it was important that women knew how to defend themselves as well. They just thought their wives or girlfriends were going and, getting in shape for them. What they didn't know is they were also getting trained to protect themselves and be able to build their confidence and get to the point where they could have that courage to get out and know that they had a community of people supporting them and they had resources and could do it safely.
But Leslie's past still haunts her, and unbeknownst to her, it's closing in. Chris Smith, of course, is also unaware of any of this. All he knows is he's supposed to meet up with Leslie for a beer.
She apparently drove up from Troy, Illinois, and met me at the local establishment up in town called the Uptown Saloon. And then we were told that we left there about 11:30 by video cam footage and went back to my house, made a pizza. And which is something I would religiously do. Anytime I ever went out, I always come home and make a pizza. It was a creature of habit. He showed up at the house, broke through the back door.
He is Leslie's ex-boyfriend, Robert Bobby Tarr. Did she ever mention Bobby Tarr to you?
She had mentioned she was getting out of a relationship with someone named Bobby, and that was all I knew.
Even though Leslie helps people stand up to their domestic abusers, we know that Leslie is scared of Bobby. According to prosecutors, Bobby has been obsessively monitoring Leslie after she had tried again to cut off ties. Leslie had recently texted a friend about Bobby with the exact words, "I could be killed by him someday." Leslie's friends noted that just 2 weeks prior, he had crashed another of Leslie's dates.
About 2 weeks before things happened, I asked her about Bobby, and she said, yeah, we broke up a while back ago, and that turned out to be really crazy. And right now I'm trying to get a restraining order against him because he's stalking me. She said she had gone on a date and he just randomly showed up on her date and confronted the gentleman that she was with. And she said, the only way, she said, I didn't put anything on Facebook. He has to be tracking me somehow. She said, but I had somebody check out my car and they're not finding any trackers. I reset my phone. We can't find anything on my phone. But she said, he's got to be tracking me somehow.
We know that Bobby, that night, was curious what Leslie was up to. Later text messages revealed in court would show that he texted a close friend saying, "I don't feel like she would drive that far for a party or go out with a girlfriend. I think it's for a dude." But Chris remembers very little from that night, a night that would change his life forever.
They said, or surmise that happened, is that he showed up at the house, broke through the back door, and I wedged myself up alongside or whatever, and that she pushed her. This refrigerator's sitting right next to that back door, so she slid the refrigerator. So it's the door, me, the fridge, and then her. And apparently he fired to the very, very top of the wooden door, right into.
It's believed the bullet goes through the door and right into Chris's head. He collapses in the kitchen. Bobby enters the house. Leslie immediately tries to get away. She runs into Chris's living room toward a Christmas tree, presumably to find cover. But Bobby pulls out a gun and shoots her in the head, killing her instantly. She collapses right next to the Christmas tree. Chris, meanwhile, is clinging to life. Bobby leaves him for dead on the kitchen floor. The next morning, Chris's mom, Sharon Costanza, is expecting a phone call from her son. It's Thanksgiving morning, after all.
Every holiday, he would either call me or text me that morning early. I didn't get anything from him. You know, as the day went on, I kept saying to my husband, sorry, something's wrong. It's a mom. It was like in my stomach. I felt something. And Paul kept texting him, calling him. I kept calling, texting. I said, this is not right. Something is not right.
And I laid there for 13 to 14 hours till they found me 11 a.m. Thanksgiving morning.
That morning, one of Chris's neighbors is walking by his house and sees something disturbing as she looks through the large front glass door. Chris is lying on the floor, not moving. She walks around to the back door, which has been busted open. She then sees the violent scene and calls 911.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
The back window's shattered and there's a body and there's blood on the stove and there's a foot I saw on the floor. I'm only 16. I can't deal with this.
Okay, hey, honey, take a deep breath for me, okay? Stay on the line.
Denny Hobson, he was the EMT chief and the ambulance department there in Farmersville. Great friend of mine. And he's the one that found me the next day. And he said he looked at the back door. I was laying there in the fetal position. Tiki was cuddled up next to me.
Tiki is Chris's dog. She's a Beagle Terrier mix, and some people believe that because of her, Chris survived. Tiki's warm body lying next to him may have kept Chris warm as his body temperature began to plummet.
Do you believe that Tiki may have helped you survive this?
So I was dead for some time. They don't know how long. My body temp was down to 72.
They think that her body warmth is what maybe kept you alive.
They think it could help, yeah.
The dog that Chris says is always getting loose in the neighborhood, chasing squirrels, didn't go anywhere for those 14 hours, even with the door wide open.
Many times that whole town was looking for my dog, even though we could see we just couldn't catch her.
But that day, she did not run away anywhere.
No,
she
ever.
Stayed right by you.
Oh, yeah. And then also apparently there's like claw marks on my chest. She was trying to wake me up, apparently. But yeah, she's my little angel. Furry angel.
Chris's friend, the EMT, springs into action.
He initially couldn't find a pulse. He said he screamed my name 3 times, and I took a gasp of breath, and I uttered, "I'm effing freezing." And then that was it. I don't remember any of this. I mean, this is all I'm told.
I got the call from our dispatch center. They said that they had a suspected homicide in Montgomery County. They advised me while I'm there that there's one deceased in the living room area, and that a male had been transported with a gunshot wound to the head, and he was not expected to make it.
Master Sergeant Joshua Easton with the Illinois State Police was one of the first law enforcement officers to respond to the gruesome scene.
The amount of blood in the kitchen was overwhelming. It was a bad scene. It was on the floor, it was on the table, it was on the counter, it was on the cabinets. It was everywhere.
That pizza Chris and Leslie had been making was burned to a crisp in the oven.
It was related to me that one of the responding officers had turned off the stove, but it was still on when they got there.
I mean, the house could have burned down with Chris lying there on the kitchen floor.
Yeah.
While EMS rushes Chris to the hospital, law enforcement is beginning their investigation to track down the perpetrator.
Could you go ahead and contact the coroner and crime scene, please?
63 1079 being routed shortly, and you are point of contact for crime scene.
Yes.
We were down there pretty quick after it happened.
Illinois State's Attorney Andrew Affronti races to the scene.
Early on, identified Mr. Tarr as a suspect.
How did you identify him so quickly?
So one of Leslie's friends arrived on scene and provided us with his information and indicated that he had that he was an ex, that she was concerned about her safety in regards to him, and so that's how we identified him right off the bat.
Affronti says they interview Bobby Tarr about his whereabouts the night of the shooting.
So basically, he went with the story that he didn't know where Farmersville was, never been there, didn't know who Chris Smith was.
Meanwhile, the news of what happened begins to reach Leslie's family and friends.
I got a phone call, and my friend Jenny said, "Did you hear about Leslie?" I said, "What about Leslie?" She said, she was shot and killed yesterday. And I just told her, I said, "Bobby found her." She said, "Who?" I said, "Bobby." I said, "Bobby found her. He's been stalking her." She knew what he was capable of, and she had been trying to stop it before it happened.
I was shocked because, you think she's been trained and she knows how to do all these things, and this still happened. It's really sad.
Leslie is gone, but Chris is fighting for his life at the hospital. His mother and sister rushed to be by his side.
My daughter left work too. She came and we all were like in the waiting room. We were trying to figure out who did this. We're trying to be detectives, getting on our phone, going on Facebook, just looking, trying to figure all this out.
I can't imagine what this is like. You see your son lying there, knowing that someone shot him and not knowing who did it.
No, and I couldn't help him. I couldn't fix it. That was the worst thing, that I couldn't fix it for him.
But police are on to Bobby Tarr. Parts of his story aren't adding up.
Went down to where he lived, located him, brought him in for an interview.
At the hospital, Chris is on the brink of death. The bullet is lodged in his brain. He's in a coma.
At one time they said, he's probably not going to make it. He's not going to talk. He won't walk. He'll be like a vegetable. I didn't know what to do. We would go to churches and just pray and light candles.
But whether or not he makes it, Affrontee and a team of law enforcement officers have a job to do.
I want you to dig down deep here and be as honest with me as you can, okay? Leslie is dead. What? Can you help me shed some light on this? How did she die? So she was murdered. What happened? That's why we're here with you. You help me believe that you're not involved in this. I'm not involved in anything.
Police ask Bobby where he had been that night.
I went to a buddy of mine's house. He left me some money out of his shop, and I had to go pick it up. Remember what time he came back? Yeah, it wasn't that long. Maybe 6:30ish, something like that. You can talk to my daughter about me being home.
So that's what they do. They speak with his 17-year-old daughter. She tells them her father had left the house twice that night.
The first time he left was roughly 6:30.
Right.
And then he came home about a half hour later and said he had to go back.
Right.
And then it was 9:15ish when he got back home.
Yeah. He gets home. He was crying. He was sobbing. He said he missed Leslie. We started laundry. He was pacing, walking around, and he was like, I can't sleep.
But Tar is sticking by his story that he didn't leave his house after 8 p.m.
We had knowledge that his car was on some license plate readers in a particular area. We went to where those were, and there's a gas station there. And sure enough, on the gas station video, he was on video purchasing gas for his car, shortly, at a time where he said he hadn't left his house.
I don't remember doing that. You don't remember being out after midnight when you have told us you are 100% positive. So I got fuel. What does that prove?
He thought that he could just explain everything away to police when he met with them, and that it would just all go away and nothing would happen.
The daughter told police her father had a small gun, but when they searched his house, it was nowhere to be found. She says it's usually in his sock drawer.
It's little. It's like this big. I like a light green, like the army green. Yesterday morning, actually, I went to get socks and it was there. And now it's not.
Was there yesterday, gone today?
At this point, investigators have heard enough to move forward.
You're under arrest for murder. And right back.
Back at the hospital, Chris's mom and sister are trying to coax Chris out of his coma.
Open your eyes, buddy. Come on, Chris.
Sharon and Chris's sister Ashley visit the house to see if it holds any clues about what led up to the shooting.
The floor was completely covered in blood. It was everywhere, all over the walls. So I guess when he stood up, it went all over. He must have been trying to get up to help himself, is what I'm thinking, because the chairs were knocked over, everything. And there was no fight. There was no struggle, just Chris against death.
But on January 12th, 2022, Chris conquers death. 49 days after being shot in the head, Chris wakes up.
Wire tubes, machines hooked up to me. I go to feel my head, which is just pounding, killing me. I felt my head, but I had no skull. Not feeling the left-hand side of my body, freaking out, screaming, every expletive at the top of my lungs. So the nurses came rushing in and told me what happened. And like I said to him, I don't know, Leslie. The only Leslie I ever knew was from 5th grade in my mind. So I'm laying there in the hospital bed, flabbergasted and utter disbelief, scared to death. I'm pretty sure the nurse gave me some happy juice to calm me down, because the next thing I know, I wake up again and it's the morning of January 13th.
Chris begins his very long road to recovery. He's paralyzed on his left side, and the doctor tells him he will never walk again.
I started bawling my eyes out. And then I said, you know what? You just told the wrong person you can't do something.
Can you blink?
Chris, blink again. Blink again. If you hear mommy, blink. Can you look at me? Look at mom.
He has to learn how to do everything all over again. Eat, read, write.
Okay. I see the C and the H and the R. I don't know where the I went. And the S. Good.
And talk.
My diaphragm was paralyzed, so I could barely even get words out at first.
You're gonna tell her there.
Move your other leg, Chris. Move your left leg.
Oh my God.
Oh, I see it moving. You're gonna be walking. I know you are.
Yeah. You are amazing, Chris.
Can you get this other eye over here?
Sit on that side. Oh, there.
There you go.
Good.
Everything we could do, we tried to do for him to get back to how he was.
Along the way, Chris learns that no matter how hard he works, a piece of this nightmare will have to stay with him forever.
The bullet's still in your head, Chris.
That's so mad.
Yep. It didn't come out.
The bullet is still in your head.
Right here. On my right eye.
And they're not removing the bullet because I'm sure it's
Oh,
in
God.
a place
No,
they can't.
they could have done it. They would have done it that morning that got into St. John's up Springfield, Illinois. No. I had to get occasional CAT scans, CT scans to make sure it doesn't shift.
How does that make you feel knowing that this evidence, this remnant of this horrible thing is permanently stuck in your brain?
Well, I'm not too happy about it because I can never, ride a bike again, a motorcycle, do stuff like that. I'm unable to because it'd be too much to jeopardize. I feel like I've been living in the movie for the last 3 years, or a bad nightmare, waiting to wake up from it. But I just don't count myself out. You can never count yourself out, no matter who you are in life.
In the years that followed that horrific first date, Chris is relentless at getting his life back on track.
I have no choice. So I tell people, I said, I have no choice but to heal up 100%. I made a promise to my daughter, I'm going to run with you again. We're going to play soccer. So I'm not breaking it. Go to the gym Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, as much as I can. I've had 5 brain surgeries and 7 surgeries total on my head.
He's unstoppable. Doctors did not think he would be where he is today. Not one doctor did.
That's why when Chris no longer needed a wheelchair, guess who he made sure to visit first? The doctor who once told him he'd never walk again.
I walked into his office with a cane, and we both hugged and cried. And he said, make me promise, Chris, you teach your story out to the world, and you make other doctors like me realize never to give up on patients like you. So that's what I've been doing.
Tell me about singing. You're back to singing. This is important to you.
So I only have one left jaw muscle. And somehow I still manage.
Apparently it's my 50th birthday. I lost a year last year because I got shot in the head, but that's a long story short. But anyways, let's do some Folsom Prison Blues. Rock it out. I've been stuck in Folsom Prison. Time keeps dragging on.
And Chris's triumphs have even transcended the physical. He's rebuilt his personal life in a major way.
I just asked her if she'd marry me, guys. I had this planned out for the last 4, 5, 6 months, 7, 8 months, a year, something like that. All right, we're gonna take a break. We'll be back in about 15 minutes, y'all.
Michelle, she's an angel. She's great. I can't say enough about her. She's been by my side. She's my rock.
Tell me about Tiki now. Where is she?
She lives about 8 minutes from us right now. She's with a foster mom. I was unable to keep her. She wasn't leash trained. She'd pull me over. And apparently she does not like big booms or gunshots now on TV. That little dog's been through hell and back also. But when she came over here 2 weekends ago, she got out of the car and I stood up out of the wheelchair and she jumped up at me and I fall over and she looked at me. She was pretty happy.
In 2024, Robert Bobby Tarr goes on trial for the murder of Leslie Reeves and the attempted murder of Chris Smith. Prosecutors reveal a disturbing discovery Bobby's father made shortly after the killings.
The gun and the magazine and the bullets were located in a Ziploc bag that was located on his property. Bobby's father found it in Bobby's yard next to a wheelbarrow around some leaves.
The bullets match the ones found at the crime scene, but the gun has no fingerprints on it, no blood either.
Our theory is that he had cleaned it as best he could.
But on deeper inspection of the weapon,
there's a spring underneath the barrel with a rod. That's what brings the slide back after it's fired. So on that rod in there was her DNA. He forgot to take it all the way apart and clean that one little area underneath the slide. So that's where they found the DNA. It was deep inside the gun that we found it.
Still, Tar denies everything.
An extraction on his phone had him, looking for the address, looking up Chris Smith in the area when it happened. There's just all kinds of things. Like, he had searched on his phone late that night / early morning. Can the police track me if I have a VPN? How do you use a VPN? Can the police track my phone if it's off?
Okay, so Bobby Tar says that you guys have the wrong man.
I don't have any doubt that it was Robert Tar.
When his name came up in the news articles and talking to the journalists that I was talking with, it didn't surprise me that it was him.
It takes the jury only 3 hours to find Bobby Tar guilty of murder and attempted murder. The decision comes down on Tar's 51st birthday. He's sentenced to 85 years in prison. Chris speaks at the sentencing with Tar present in the courtroom.
What was your overall message to him?
That he stole my life, that he's a piece of shit. I've had my life taken from me without dying. My life was murdered from me. And my little girl, who's not little anymore. She was 9. She just turned 13 in January. I've lost that many years with my little girl. He took my family's life. We had to take care of me for 1.5 years while I was recovering. He disrupted so many lives. He wouldn't even look at me in the eyes.
And Tar isn't out of the woods yet. He's about to go on trial again, but this time for allegedly trying, while in prison, to hire a hitman to kill not only Chris, but one of the lead deputies who investigated the case.
So he currently has pending still charges for solicitation of murder.
Bobby Tar will most likely spend the rest of his life in prison, but he's alive. Leslie's friends wish they could say the same for her.
Given how wonderful she was, that's what we want to keep alive is that, and to be able to help more people see, because if more women know about this story and it gives them the courage to leave and get out and do it in a way that is safe, then that's what we want.
I mean, she did nothing wrong. She was trying to get away from a monster. But that monster decided to hunt her down and anybody associated with her. I don't know that anything could have stopped Bobby from doing what he did. She left behind a legacy of women that I believe will continue standing up and fighting against what he stood for.
Chris is going to keep on living life the best way he can. His family and friends recently organized a fundraiser to support additional stem cell transplants, the only treatment that has helped him regain any movement in his body.
Oh my God, this is awesome.
Oh my God, it's great.
Take nothing for granted. I mean, most of us only get one time on this earth. I was lucky to get a second lease on life. The only reason I can think I'm still here is to help stroke survivors, survivors of domestic violence, and of gunshot injuries. But, just here to inspire, motivate, give hope and resource and faith.
He put it all in a new book, My Fatal First Date. It made the Amazon bestseller list after just weeks of being on the market.
It's a true life story of survival, heartbreak and triumph.
What do you want people to get when they read this book?
Just understand that we're unstoppable. Our power of the human spirit's unstoppable. Love life, love your loved ones. Don't ever take anything for granted. I mean, anything.
Chris Smith lived to tell his story, how a first date turned into a nightmare, how man's best friend may have saved his life, and how he's found a path forward. Leslie Reeves never got that chance, but her legacy lives on in the lives she touched, the people she inspired, and in the justice that was finally served. Robert Bobby Tarr thought he could cover his tracks, but the evidence caught up with him. As for Chris, he's rebuilding his life that was nearly stolen, one step, one song, and one story at a time.
I don't feel like dying anytime soon. I've already done that once. I've got another 50 years left in me, and I want to stick that out.
I'm Kristin Thorne for Law&Crime Investigates.